Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sydney. If you're new here, you should definitely subscribe and stick around. Follow me on my pregnancy journey. When filming this, I am currently 17 weeks pregnant with my first baby, and we had found out last video that our baby is a sweet baby girl. Just bear with me throughout this video because it's obviously going to be a sit-down video with my first trimester recap, and I get very out of breath. Super easy, just bear with me on that. I first just want to give a disclaimer. Throughout this video, I'm going to be talking about my first trimester, and I'm no way saying that this is going to also be your first trimester. This is just my experience and how I have been feeling. And when I first found out I was pregnant, I watched a lot of these videos just to kind of get an idea of what was yet to come, and it was really exciting to see what other people had experienced, and now I can compare with them what I have experienced. There are going to be some things where I'm talking where it seems more like I'm maybe complaining, but I am not trying to say I am complaining about being pregnant. I am very thankful and I do not take it for granted. Words can't express how thankful I feel. But I just want to talk about my experience being pregnant and the things that I have gone through so far. We're gonna get into my first trimester recap. I have all my notes on my phone, and then I also have some notes written in this journal here. So I am gonna kind of start from the beginning. I have no real plan with this video. I'm just gonna kind of talk about my experience. I found out I was pregnant pretty early. I found out when I was 4 weeks pregnant, but started to kind of feel symptoms around the 2 to 3 week mark, but I wasn't sure if they were actually pregnancy symptoms or if it was just leading up to my period. But I just wrote these notes down just in case I ended up actually being pregnant. I was very hungry. I wrote it's 2 a.m. and I'm starving. I just remember being so hungry, and I am not a very pleasant person to be around when I'm hungry, so I would eat all the food and I didn't even care. I was just so hungry. And I have this video shortly after me and Dylan had found out that we were pregnant. We went to church and then we went to breakfast afterwards. I got so much food. I have a short little clip, so I'll just insert that here. His plate, my plates. One of my biggest symptoms that I really do remember is I was very flush in my face and kind of hot in my face, especially during my workouts, and I normally don't get that way. And even when I was at work, my coworkers told me, like, you look really red, like, are you okay? And I was like, I don't know what's going on. I'm 3 weeks and 3 days pregnant, and one of my biggest symptoms is my face is so red. Like, I'm super flush in my face. This happened like a week ago before I knew I was pregnant, and I had a feeling maybe it was related to that. I remember I was having really bad cramps on and off, worse than my normal period cramps, and so I thought that was kind of different. I remember the night before I did test, I had horrible cramps that like kept me awake all night. That is when I was really starting to wonder if maybe I was pregnant. Then I started to kind of have mild nausea after eating, but it was nothing really serious at that time. Now that I have experienced real nausea, it's just so funny because I wrote all these tiny little things, but at that point at 4 weeks it was nothing, and little did I know it was gonna get very worse. But I also wrote my belly feels full of air. I had acid reflux a lot at the beginning, and then this is when my, not necessarily my boobs, but my nipples started to get really sensitive to the point where even just like showering and the water hitting like hurt so bad. And even just like hugging Dylan, I had to like kind of keep my distance because I could have no pressure on my nipples. They were very sensitive. I got all the animals snuggling. I'm almost 4 weeks pregnant, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty nervous just because of certain risks, and I'm just trying to stay positive and put my trust in God. And it's kind of hard, especially when I do digging and research, so I really need to try to stop doing that because I just start to put worries in my head. So yeah, we're gonna tell my parents tomorrow, and I'm really excited. So that's kind of what's been going on, and just trying to stay positive and just have faith that this baby is healthy. And yeah. Week 5, I started to get night sweats, especially in my legs, to the point, this might be gross, I sleep with a pillow in between my legs, and it was to the point where the sheet on the pillow would get wet. Some growing and things shifting around was definitely happening in there because my body was getting hot and working very hard. This is when we're gonna get into a little TMI, so if you are a guy and you're watching this video, this might be weird for you and you can go ahead and click off now, or you can keep watching, whatever, but we're gonna get into some interesting things now. So this is when I started to have like white discharge. I was not ever expecting really to have discharge throughout pregnancy, but I guess it's actually very common, and it has an interesting scent that I'm not really a fan of. Once I started to have aversions, that was definitely one of the aversions that I was having towards that scent, which was a very big struggle. And this is the point when it was so tragic, but coffee started to gross me out. I remember I was in the morning, I had this morning routine of waking up at 5 a.m. I would drink my cup of coffee and I would read my Bible every morning before work. And I was doing this same routine. I got my coffee and I took a drink of it, and it grossed me out. Like, I all of a sudden kind of felt sick from it, like nauseous from it. And so at that point I just poured it out, and I hadn't drank coffee since. And initially it was just the taste that grossed me out, but then eventually it was the smell. At week 6 is when my nausea really started to increase. Week 6 is when I ended up telling my work that I was pregnant, because I started to feel very nauseous, and I'm not really very secretive with how I'm feeling. I like to talk about it, and you know, I just don't want to go through that without them knowing, especially with all the, you know, things going on in the world with sickness currently. I just wanted to be very transparent and open with what I was going through. And so week 6 is when I started to feel nauseous, and when I started throwing up, and it was not very pleasant, let me tell you. Week 7, I needed to go to the grocery store so bad. I ended up going into Walmart, and just being around all that food and walking down the aisles and like all that food surrounding me made me feel so nauseous and hot and sick. Like, it was freezing winter and I had to take my jacket off. Like, I was blazing hot, so uncomfortable. This is basically when I started to really start puking, like basically every day. This is when I also started getting constipated. That was not fun either. I would feel nauseous, and then I would like get it out and feel good, and then like the next day I would be constipated, and that would be so uncomfortable too. And it was just not, yeah, it was really hard. I was starting to struggle mentally at this point because it was a lot harder than I anticipated. I'm looking pretty rough, so just disregard that, but I just wanted to come on here and document. I am 7 weeks pregnant, and this is one of the hardest things that I've ever done in my whole entire life. I started getting morning sickness like a week ago, and it is so rough. I never in my life imagined it being this hard. But I just constantly feel so nauseous to the point where sometimes I do throw up, and I am so tired. I have not worked out in like a month and a half, maybe even like 2 months. And because of that, I just feel so out of shape and just so disgusting, but I'm just so tired all the time. And I'm also just out of breath just from the pregnancy and my body working so hard. And yeah, I'm tired of eating bread, crackers, cereal, like straight up all carbs. Like, I'm so tired of it. And then when I do finally get an appetite, the only thing that sounds good is something that's unhealthy. So I'm just eating like crap. I feel like crap. I've never heard anyone really like express the first trimester and how rough it is, but from my experience, this is definitely one of the hardest things that I've ever done in my whole entire life. I'm doing my best, and I just wanted to be open with you guys about it because I have never heard about this part, and it is not the funnest, but I know in the end it will be worth it. So just going day by day. So eventually I really started to not feel good, like no food sounded good, because no matter what I would just end up throwing it up. And so a lot of people had said to eat just super bland crackers, and so I had basically just been eating that for a week straight. And I wrote in my notes like that I was getting so tired of just eating crackers, and they would also leave like a gross sour taste in my mouth after I would eat them. So I had to take a toothbrush to work. This is when I really started struggling, and I remember just calling my parents because I don't know, I love talking to them, I love having their support, and I called them and just melted down. I could not stop crying because I was just so exhausted and just so tired of puking and feeling sick, and I just really needed their support in that moment. You guys, this is so hard. Seriously, the hardest thing I've ever had to go through. So I just look back and laugh now because I got through it, and if you're currently going through that, like, I feel for you. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. I feel for those people who experience that nausea and sickness throughout their whole pregnancy. I could not imagine having to go through that. It was a really big mental challenge for me. I don't want to scare anyone from getting pregnant because of the first trimester. Like, it is definitely rough. I just really needed to be reminded to put my trust and my faith, because at this point is when I started to kind of pull away from God, and I just started to have this negative mindset. And I'm just so thankful for my mom, who just kept reminding me to lean on the Lord and just try and change my mindset. So basically it just kind of continues on week 8 from 11. I just basically wrote a lot of notes about being nauseous, throwing up, and being constipated and having meltdowns. So week 12 is when I started to notice changes in my body. I officially didn't fit in my jeans. I was excited, but I also was kind of struggling with it. Also in this trimester is when we heard the heartbeat for the first time and also saw a baby for the first time. So I wanted to insert those clips here as well.
Oh, it moved.
Oh my God.
Wow. Good job, Bella. Or Missy, we don't know.
The first time we saw our baby, it was just so crazy. We obviously didn't know the gender at that point, but she was just so tiny and just looked like a little gummy bear. And it was just crazy to see that there was something inside me. And then with the heartbeat, it took them a while to find it at first, so I started to get a little bit nervous. She eventually found it, and it was just so, words can't even describe what I felt. I had my mask on, so you obviously couldn't see, but I was just like smiling and speechless. I did not know what to say.
Oh, there they are. That's your little one. That's your baby. That's perfect, right? 147. That's really good. That's super normal. Oh my god.
That is so crazy. The midwives I have are seriously the best. They ended up having like a last minute cancellation, so they were able to spend more time with us at our appointment, and they wanted to show us how much the baby had grown from that first ultrasound. It was just mind-boggling seeing how much she had grown and how long her legs were and like how they were stretched out so far. Like that was just like so crazy to me to see.
Oh,
It's not, yeah.
oh my god.
Those legs stretch way out to feet.
Oh my
Oh
god.
my god.
Those are legs?
Yeah. Like this is a head, spine, legs.
Oh my
The
god.
legs are so long.
Well, you guys aren't short.
This is like night and day difference.
Right? This is what I wanted to show you. Like how you made a whole person in this last month. That's a face. It's a little skeletal right now. It doesn't have any fat.
You gotta chubby that baby up.
But that's it.
I also put up a Q&A on my Instagram to see if anybody had any questions. So if you missed out on that, definitely follow me on Instagram. I'll have my username down below. But I got a couple questions that I will answer. One of them was, did you have mood swings like crying then laughing without reason? I wouldn't say that I would like cry and then laugh without reason, but I was definitely a lot more emotional than I normally was. I had some pretty hardcore meltdowns to the point where I was like hyperventilating and ugly crying and could not stop crying, and so I had to call my mom to like help her calm me down. And then someone else asked, is it fun seeing your body change or scary? Well, I wouldn't say that like my body really changed much in the first trimester. I would say like I really started to see my body change from like 14 weeks on. So kind of like at the beginning of the second trimester. Honestly, it has been kind of scary because right before Dylan and I got pregnant, I had lost a lot of weight because we got married. I was in like the best shape of my life and like the most leanest I had ever been. I definitely have struggled with it, especially now when I am showing a little bit more. When I go to the gym is when I'm the worst with my body image, just because I see all these like fit people at the gym. I just feel like I look like super bloated and uncomfortable. But I just have to try to keep reminding myself that I'm not right now training for a certain physique. I'm training for labor and training for my post baby body, because it's really important to do the things you can now while you're pregnant, so then it's easier to bounce back afterwards. It definitely has been hard seeing my body change, and I feel bad for that, but also I have to remind myself like it's okay to feel that way. I feel like it's totally normal for us women to kind of struggle seeing your body change, especially when like I've never really gone through this before. But you just constantly have to remind yourself like why you're going through this and why your body is changing. Like you're creating a human, like a life is being formed inside of you, and that's such a magical thing. And I constantly am just like reminding myself that, and I know at the end of this it'll all be worth it. Any sort of like change that I have, like it'll all be worth it, and to have this beautiful baby girl in this world with us. So I just have to constantly remind myself that. One of Dylan's friends asked, did Dylan help like he was supposed to? And Dylan honestly has been such a huge help throughout the pregnancy so far, especially in the first trimester. I could not do anything, and this man was seriously doing everything for me, even going to the grocery store for me. If I craved something in that moment or like needed something in that moment, he would go and get it without question. And I am just so thankful to have him as my husband. He truly has been so supportive and so helpful. I really do appreciate that he constantly is there and constantly trying to make sure that I am okay. So yes, Dylan has been a lot of help, and he continues to be a lot of help throughout the pregnancy. And yes, so that is basically it for this video. Drop down any comments or other questions you might have about my first trimester. I can always answer them down below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Definitely hit that subscribe button. I cannot believe like how much this channel has grown, and I am so thankful and so excited to have you all here. So yeah, hit that like button, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.